My name is Liza Carter, and I am 34 years old. 2 weeks ago, my mother rang my doorbell for the first time in 9 years. She stood on my porch in a beige cardigan, holding a carry-on suitcase and a folded piece of paper. That paper was not an apology. It was a list, handwritten, blue ink, 5 bullet points, and every single one had a dollar sign next to it. The total came to $925,000. She did not say she was sorry. She did not ask about her grandchildren. She said, "We need to talk about the family's future." But here is what my mother did not know when she stood on that porch. I had been keeping a list of my own for 9 years. Every birthday card she returned, every voicemail she ignored, every cruel text message my sister sent about me behind my back. 29 items, all labeled, all dated, all filed inside a navy blue binder that sat in the bottom drawer of my desk. She brought a list of what she wanted from me. I brought a list of everything she had done to me. Let me take you back to the summer I turned 18. The summer my family quietly decided that one day, years later, I would no longer be one of them. I grew up in Millfield, Ohio. Population a little over 2,000, one Baptist church, one barber shop, one diner where every booth smelled like coffee and bacon grease, no matter what time you walked in. That was my entire world until I left for college. My father, Kenneth, worked at the lumber yard on Route 7 for 31 years. Same shift, same boots, the same quiet nod every evening when he came through the door. My mother, Diane, ran our household and the church women's committee with equal precision. She organized the Easter brunch. She coordinated the prayer chain. She decided who brought what to every potluck, and nobody ever argued with her about it. My younger sister, Paige, was everything I was not. Loud, confident, the kind of girl who got voted homecoming queen and somehow still acted surprised about it. My mother adored her. My father called her sunshine. I was the quiet one, the one who did the dishes without being asked, who scored perfectly on every math test, and never once got a party thrown in her honor for either. I do not say this with bitterness. I say it because you need to understand the math of my childhood. In our family, love was a budget, and Paige was always the line item that got funded first. When I turned 18, I earned a full scholarship to Ohio State. I was the first person in our family to go to college. My mother packed my suitcase and slipped a card inside, the kind with flowers on the front, her handwriting on the back. It said, "Come home soon. You belong here." I kept that card for 15 years. It still sits in my desk drawer, right next to the navy binder. It was the last genuinely kind thing she ever wrote to me. I met Marcus Ellison in advanced statistics during the spring semester of my junior year. He sat 2 rows ahead of me and solved regression problems like he was reading a grocery list. Calm, methodical, never rushed. He was an engineering major with a computer science minor on a partial scholarship out of Cleveland. His mother, Cora, was a retired school librarian. His father had left when Marcus was 4 years old, and Cora raised him alone, working 2 jobs until he turned 16, and then 1 job while volunteering for 3 others. Marcus was biracial. He had his mother's eyes and a way of listening that made you feel like every single word you said actually mattered. Our first date was at a taco truck near campus. He paid with crumpled singles. I paid with quarters. We split a horchata and talked until the truck closed for the night. He told me he wanted to build something. He did not know what yet, but something that solved a real problem. I told him I wanted a job where the numbers actually meant something. He said, "Then we're in the right field." We dated for 3 quiet, steady years before he proposed. He met my parents twice. The first time, my mother smiled too wide and called him Michael instead of Marcus. The second time, she got his name right, but never once looked at him while she said it. Both times, my father shook his hand and said almost nothing at all. I told myself it was nerves, small-town people. They just needed time. My sister was the only one honest enough to say it out loud. At Thanksgiving, she leaned over and whispered, "He's nice, but Mom is never going to be okay with this. You know that, right?" I did not know that yet. Not really. Marcus proposed on a Tuesday. No ring at first, just a quiet conversation at our kitchen table in our tiny apartment near campus. He said, "I want to spend my life with you. I want to build something with you. Will you let me?" I said yes before he had even finished the sentence. That same night, I called home. My mother picked up on the third ring. I told her the news, and the line went silent for 7 full seconds. I counted. Then she said, "You need to think about what this means for this family. Not congratulations. Not tell me about the ring. A warning." My father got on the extension, cleared his throat twice, and said absolutely nothing. 2 days later, my sister texted me, "Mom has been crying since you called. Are you happy now?" The truth was, for the first time in years, I actually was. I did not reply with that. 2 weeks after that phone call, a letter arrived. Not a text, not an email. A handwritten letter on cream-colored stationery in my mother's careful cursive, 4 paragraphs long. The last one read, "If you go through with this, you are choosing him over your family. We cannot support this. We will not attend. And if you walk down that aisle, do not expect to walk back through our door. He is not one of us, Iris. He never will be." That was the line she drew, in blue ink, on cream-colored paper, and she fully expected me to stand on her side of it. I read that letter 3 times, folded it, and slid it into a manila folder. I did not know yet why some part of me, the part that files receipts and labels bank statements, told me to hold on to it. But I did hold on to it. We were married at the county courthouse on a Saturday in June. 12 guests, all of them Marcus's friends and family. His mother, Cora, flew in from Cleveland with a garment bag and a Tupperware container of pound cake. She pinned a silk flower to my dress, held both of my hands, and said, "Welcome to the family, baby." No father walked me down an aisle. There was no aisle. There was a fluorescent-lit hallway and a judge who mispronounced both our names, followed by a reception at a Thai restaurant where we pushed 4 tables together, and Marcus's college roommate gave a toast so funny that Cora spilled her water, laughing. My dress cost $160 from a consignment shop. Marcus wore a navy suit he bought on clearance. We looked like 2 people who had just done the most important thing of their lives on a tight budget, because we had. That night, back in our apartment, I sat on the edge of our bed staring at my bouquet, $6 grocery store roses, and my hands were shaking, not from doubt, from grief. I had just gotten married, and the 2 people who raised me had not cared enough to even show up and watch. 1 week later, I mailed a card to Millfield with our wedding photo tucked inside, Marcus and me grinning on the courthouse steps. I wrote, "We are happy. I hope you can be happy for us someday." 11 days later, the card came back, stamped in red, returned to sender. I stared at that stamp for a long time. Then I opened the manila folder, slid the card inside, and wrote in red pen, "Item 2, wedding photo, returned." That was the true beginning of the binder. The first year was the hardest. I called my mother 4 separate times, voicemail every single time. I left careful messages, the kind where you choose every word because you suspect it might be the last thing she ever hears from you. "Hi, Mom. Just calling to say hi. We're doing well. Marcus got a job at a software company downtown. I'm studying for the CPA exam. I miss you. Call me back whenever you're ready." She never called back. I sent a card for her birthday, one for my father's birthday, one for Christmas. All 3 came back with the same red stamp. My father sent exactly 1 text, 4 words. "Your mother needs time." That was it. No follow-up. Those 4 words sat in my phone like a voicemail I could never quite bring myself to delete. That spring, my sister posted a family photo on Facebook. My mother, my father, Paige, and her boyfriend at the time, all smiling, captioned, "Sunday dinner with my people." I was not in the photo. I had never once been invited. I printed that screenshot, not to torture myself, but because I had started doing something I could not fully explain. I was filing things, every returned card, every unanswered call log, every piece of evidence that my family had quietly decided I no longer existed. By March, the manila folder had grown thick enough that I transferred everything into an actual binder. Navy blue, 3 rings, tabbed by year. He is not one of us. Her voice played in my head at the strangest moments. In the grocery store, at the dentist, at 2 in the morning while Marcus slept and the apartment sat dark and silent around me. I wanted those words to stop hurting. They never fully stopped, but over time they got quieter and the binder got thicker. By year 2, Marcus quit his job, not recklessly. He had a plan. For 6 months, he had been building a prototype on nights and weekends, a compliance platform designed for small businesses, the kind of software that made SEC filings and financial audits less painful for companies too small to afford their own legal teams. He understood compliance. I understood finance. Together, we understood the exact problem nobody else seemed willing to solve. He set up a desk in our garage with 2 monitors, a space heater, and a $12 whiteboard from Goodwill. Every evening I came home from my analyst job, heated up leftover soup, and sat beside him reviewing financial models until midnight. I built the pricing structure. I wrote the compliance checklists. I tested every module against real federal guidelines. Marcus built the engine. I built the dashboard. Neither of us slept enough. Compliance Corp launched 7 months later with 4 customers and a free trial that crashed twice on its very first day. That same year, I upgraded the binder properly. Tabs for each year, red pen labels on every single item. I was not building a case. I was not plotting revenge. I was simply doing what I had always done, keeping records because financial analysts do not throw away documentation, ever. But I did start numbering each item, and I did start dating every entry because numbers do not lie, and neither would I. Our twins, Liam and Sophie, arrived on a Wednesday morning in November, 6 pounds each, identical dark curls. Sophie screamed for 4 straight hours. Liam slept through every second of it. Marcus cried. I had never once seen him cry before that moment. He held Sophie in one arm and Liam in the other, stood at the hospital window and said, "They are going to know they are loved every single day." Cora flew in the very next morning and stayed 2 full weeks. She cooked, she cleaned, she rocked Liam at 4 in the morning while I fed Sophie. She brought a crocheted blanket, yellow and white, soft enough to bring you to tears, along with a small silver bracelet for each baby, engraved with their birthdays. That is what a grandmother looks like. I had sent my mother the ultrasound photos 5 months earlier, returned. I sent birth announcements, 1 for each twin, returned. I sent photographs, Liam asleep on Marcus's chest, Sophie gripping my finger, returned. 3 more items went into the binder. My sister texted someone we both knew from high school, and that mutual friend forwarded the message to me without a single comment attached. Paige had written, "Her children don't have real grandparents. That's what she chose." I sat in the nursery with that sentence glowing on my phone screen for 11 minutes. Sophie was asleep in her crib. Liam was in my arms. I could hear Cora in the kitchen, humming something low and sweet while she washed bottles. My children had a grandmother. Her name was Cora Ellison, and she flew in from Cleveland every 6 weeks without ever once missing a birthday. I printed that text. I filed it. Item 16, red pen, dated. By year 4, the binder held 19 items, and I want to be completely clear about something. I did not keep it out of spite. I did not flip through it late at night, feeding some fantasy of confrontation. Most weeks, I genuinely forgot it existed. It sat in the bottom drawer behind old tax folders and insurance documents, quietly collecting dust. But every time something new arrived, a returned card, a forwarded screenshot, a voicemail transcript I saved because deleting it felt like erasing evidence, I filed it. Same process every time. Print, label, date, red pen, tab. Marcus asked me once why I bothered keeping all of it. I told him the truth. Because someday, when the kids are old enough, they might ask why they don't have grandparents on my side, and I want them to have facts, not my version, not her version, the receipts. He nodded. He understood receipts. He was an engineer. Engineers build logs. By then, Compliance Corp had 11 employees and a real office in the Pearl District. Marcus worked 60 hours a week. I worked 40 at my firm and another 20 on Compliance Corp's books. We hired a part-time nanny for the twins. We ate dinner together every single night at 6, non-negotiable. The silence from Ohio had simply become a fact of life, like weather. Some days I noticed it. Most days I did not. Year 5 brought 15 employees, a real office with a sign on the door, and a conference room with a whiteboard that was finally not from goodwill. The growth was not fast or flashy. It was the kind that quietly pays salaries and keeps the lights on. Marcus refused to become the kind of CEO who stops building the actual product. Most mornings, he was at his desk by 6, headphones on, lost in architecture problems I did not pretend to fully understand. I handled everything else: cash flow, vendor contracts, quarterly projections. The company was his vision. The numbers were mine. That year, we bought our first house, a craftsman bungalow with original hardwood floors and a backyard plum tree the twins immediately claimed as their fort. Signing those mortgage papers, I remember thinking, this is ours. Nobody gave us this. We built it. On a Tuesday night that October, I made the mistake of checking Facebook. My mother had posted a photo from what looked like a Thanksgiving preview dinner. A new dining set, Paige and her husband, a baby in a high chair, my nephew, a child I had never once met. The caption read, "My whole world." I closed the app and went to bed. I did not cry. I had stopped crying about Diane Archer somewhere around year 3. Some wounds simply do not heal. They just go numb. My sister got married in year 6. I learned about it from Instagram. White Church, the same Baptist church where I was baptized at 12. 200 guests, a live band, a 5-tier cake, a sparkler send-off straight out of a movie. They did not invite me. They did not even tell me. I found out 4 days later when an old high school friend posted a group photo captioned, "Best Wedding of the Year." I zoomed in. My parents stood in the second row, smiling, arms around each other. My father looked thinner. My mother looked exactly the same. I stared at that photo for a long time, not out of jealousy over the wedding itself. I had my wedding. 12 guests, Thai food, a $160 dress, and the best man I have ever known in my life. I stared because they looked happy, and they looked happy without me in the frame at all. I did something I probably should not have done. I ordered a set of handmade linen napkins from a shop in Portland, monogrammed with Paige's new initials, and wrote a card. "Congratulations on your wedding. I wish you and your husband every happiness. Love, Iris." The package came back 3 weeks later, completely unopened. The tape had never even been touched. Item 17, gift returned. Red pen, dated. I closed the binder, sat at my desk, and listened to Sophie singing in the bath, while Liam argued with Marcus about whether dinosaurs could swim. That was my family, right there in the next room. And they were enough. Year 7 changed the entire trajectory of our lives. Compliance Corp closed its Series B, $12 million from a venture capital firm in San Francisco. I remember the phone call. Marcus was in the kitchen making pancakes for the twins. His phone rang. He listened. He nodded. He hung up and turned to me and said simply, "They said yes." I had done the math before the pancakes finished cooking. $12 million in funding on a post-money valuation of $68 million. Marcus and I still held 22%. We were not rich yet, but the numbers were heading toward a place I had only ever modeled inside spreadsheets. I left my analyst job that month and joined Compliance Corp full-time as CFO. For the first time, my name appeared on company paperwork right next to his. We were partners in everything. The funding round made a small splash in the press, a brief mention in TechCrunch, a line in a couple of fintech newsletters. Nothing major. The kind of coverage industry people notice and everyone else simply scrolls past. But someone in Millfield, Ohio, did not scroll past. 2 weeks after that article ran, an old friend from high school texted me, "Hey, kind of random, but your mom asked me about your husband's company at church on Sunday. She wanted to know what Series B meant. Just thought you should know." I read that text 3 times. My mother had not spoken my name in 7 years. She did not know what a Series B was, but she wanted to know. The math was changing and Diane Archer was paying very close attention. That same year, I sent what I assumed would be my last birthday card to her. 7 straight years, 7 returns. But this time, I tucked something extra inside. A photo of Liam and Sophie at their school's fall festival, matching flannels, face paint, Liam missing his 2 front teeth. Sophie grinning so wide her eyes had nearly disappeared. On the back I had written, "They ask about you sometimes. I tell them you live far away." I sealed it, mailed it, and braced for the usual red stamp. It came back in 9 days instead of the usual 11. But something was different. The envelope had been opened. The flap was creased, the glue carefully resealed with a thin strip of clear tape. I held it up to the light. The card was inside. The photo was inside, but someone had taken them out, looked at them, and placed them back, deliberately, before sending the whole thing back to me. I sat at my kitchen table, turning that envelope over in my hands for a long time. Someone in that house, my father, I was almost certain, had opened it, had looked at his grandchildren's faces, had actually held that photograph, and someone else, my mother, I was certain, had made him put it back and return it anyway. He had wanted to keep it. She would not let him. Item 23. Birthday card opened and resealed, photo viewed, still returned. I wrote that label with a steadier hand than I expected, because I had suspected for years that my father was never the architect of our silence. He was only ever the enforcer. My mother was the architect, and her blueprint was simple. If she could not control who I loved, she would erase me from the family entirely. By year 8, Compliance Corp had grown to 80 employees across offices in Portland and Austin, with partnerships across 2 of the largest accounting firms in the Pacific Northwest. Marcus appeared on the cover of a regional business magazine under the headline, "The Quiet Disruptor." That same month, I noticed something strange on my LinkedIn. Someone from Millfield, Ohio had viewed my profile 3 separate times in a single week through a private account with no visible name, but the location tag was unmistakable. Then Forbes published its annual Companies to Watch list, and Compliance Corp landed at number 47 out of 50. A small mention, 2 sentences, but it was Forbes. A few weeks after that, Marcus guest starred on a fairly technical 45-minute fintech podcast. Not exactly viral content. 3 days after it aired, my friend from Ohio texted me again. "Your mom told Linda at church that she always knew Marcus was smart." Direct quote. "Linda said Diane sounded proud. First time she's mentioned your name in years." Always knew Marcus was smart. 7 years of total silence. And now, suddenly, she always knew. I did not add that one to the binder. It was not a document. It was hearsay. But I wrote it on a sticky note and pressed it to the inside cover because I wanted to remember the exact moment Diane Archer began rewriting our history. She was not proud of Marcus. She was not the slightest bit sorry. She was recalculating. The numbers were getting bigger, and my mother, it turned out, was an accountant of an entirely different kind. The group chat arrived on a Monday evening. My friend Tess called me, sounding rattled. "Iris, Paige accidentally added me to a family group chat. I think she meant to add someone else with a similar number. I was in it for 3 days before they noticed and removed me. I took screenshots." She sent me 7 of them. 3 days of completely unfiltered Archer family conversation. I read every word of it sitting in the parking lot during Liam's soccer practice. My sister had written, his company was valued at $68 million last round. I've been tracking the funding filings. If they, IPO, were looking at $300 million minimum. My mother answered, how do we approach this? She won't listen to me. My father wrote, maybe I should call first, feel her out. My mother shut that down immediately. No, I need to go in person with a plan, a real plan. Paige replied, make a list. Be specific about what we need. She's a numbers person. She'll respond to numbers. My mother asked, how much should we ask for? And Paige answered, start with the mortgage, then medical, then retirement. College for my son, monthly support, layer it. Make it look like family investment, not a request. My father wrote one final line. This doesn't feel right. My mother answered, Kenneth, she has more money than this entire town. She can afford to help her family. My father never replied again after that. I sat in my car with the engine off. Through the windshield, I watched Liam chase a soccer ball nearly twice the size of his head. My hands were shaking, not from sadness, from clarity. 9 years of silence, 9 years of returned birthday cards and ignored grandchildren and a cream-colored letter that told me never to walk back through their door. And now that the numbers had changed, they wanted to approach me with a plan. I drove home and printed every screenshot. Item 26, family group chat, financial tracking, reconnaissance confirmed. I told Marcus everything that night after the kids were finally asleep. He read the screenshots once, slowly, the way he reads code, line by line, hunting for the bug. When he finished, he set the phone down on the counter and stared at the wall for a long moment before asking, what do you want to do? I told him, nothing yet, but I want to be ready. He simply nodded. That was Marcus. He never told me what to feel. He never suggested confronting it or ignoring it. He asked what I wanted, and then he stood beside me while I figured that out for myself. The next morning, I called a family attorney. Not to sue anyone, not to file anything, but simply to understand exactly where we stood. Could my mother make any legal claim against our assets, against our children's trusts? The attorney, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Grace, walked me through it in 20 minutes. No, my mother had no legal standing whatsoever. Our trusts were structured to fully protect the children's assets. Oregon grants no grandparent visitation rights without an existing relationship, and 9 years of clearly documented estrangement made any future claim laughable. I thanked her and went back to work. But that week, I also drafted a letter, never sent, just written out late at night at the kitchen table, listing every item in the binder, every date, every return, every screenshot. 26 items, documented, ready. Year 9 brought the IPO conversation. Investment bankers flew into Portland for 3 rounds of meetings in our conference room, the one with the whiteboard that still technically came from Goodwill, though nobody needed to know that detail. They reviewed our financials, our growth, our customer retention. They used phrases like roadshow and pricing range and lockup period. Marcus handled the product pitch. I handled every number, every slide, every risk disclosure. My name sat on all of it. CFO, co-founder, the person who signed off on every filing before it left the building. The process took 7 full months of due diligence and legal review. Marcus barely slept. I barely ate. The twins started to notice. Liam asked why Dad kept talking to his laptop at dinner. Sophie drew a picture of me at my desk with a speech bubble that simply said, "One more email." In August, our attorney finalized 2 irrevocable trusts for Liam and Sophie. Fully funded, fully protected. Nobody, not my mother, not my father, not Paige, not any future version of an archer who showed up with a list, could ever touch a single dollar. I signed those documents on a Tuesday afternoon in a corner office overlooking the river. The attorney asked if I had any final questions. I had exactly one. If a family member tries to claim access to these funds, what happens? Nothing, she said. That's the entire point. I went home, helped Sophie with her long division, and locked the trust documents in the fire safe under our bed. And then I noticed something. For the first time in months, nobody from Millfield had viewed my LinkedIn. No texts from Tess about church gossip. No digital footprint at all. Quiet, the dangerous kind. 2 months before the IPO, my sister texted me for the first time in 9 years. "Hey, just thinking about you. How are the kids?" 6 words. 9 years. As though this were simply a continuation of something instead of a resurrection. I did not reply for a week, curious whether she would follow up. She did. "I'm going to be in Portland for work next month. Would love to see you." Marcus told me it was entirely my call. I agreed to meet her. Not at our house, but at a cafe. Public, neutral, with a clear time limit. She arrived 15 minutes late in a blazer and ankle boots, looking like she had rehearsed being casual. She hugged me far too long. She told me I looked amazing 3 separate times in the first 10 minutes. And then she started asking questions. How big was our house? Did the kids attend private school? What neighborhood did we live in? Was Marcus still running the company, or had he stepped back? How many employees now? Had they raised more funding recently? 32 questions. I counted every single one. Not one of them was, "I'm sorry." Halfway through our coffee, I caught something in the reflection of the cafe window. Paige had angled her phone toward the parking lot. She was photographing my car, the white Tesla Marcus had given me for my birthday. She was scouting, cataloging, building a report. I let her finish her latte and answered her questions vaguely, politely, the way you make small talk with a bank teller. When we hugged goodbye, she held on too long again. After I got home, I opened the binder. Item 28, Page reconnaissance visit, dated, notes, 32 questions documented, vehicle photographed, no apology offered, no mention of past estrangement. Then I called Grace, the attorney, again. "They're coming," I told her. "My mother, probably within weeks of the IPO. She'll bring demands." I told her about the group chat, about Paige's instructions to layer it and make it look like family investment. Grace went quiet for a moment, then asked, "You have documentation?" "I have a binder." "How thorough? 28 items, 9 years. After another pause, she said, "Iris, you don't need me for this part. You needed me for the trusts, for the legal structure, and that's already done. What you're describing isn't a legal confrontation. It's a personal one. And for that, you just need to decide what you're willing to say." She was right. This had never been about lawyers. This was about a woman who showed up at my door because the numbers had finally changed, and whether I was going to let her rewrite 9 years of silence into a story about a simple misunderstanding. Compliance Corp went public on a Wednesday in October. Marcus and I stood on the floor of the exchange in New York, him in a charcoal suit, me in a navy blazer, watching the stock open at $18 a share. By noon, it hit 20. By close, 22. Market cap, $440 million. Marcus and I held 10% between us. Net worth on paper, $44 million. I did not know what to do with that number. It did not feel real. It felt like a spreadsheet cell someone had typed wrong. Too many zeros, check the formula, but the formula was correct. Checking formulas was, after all, my entire job. That night, while Marcus slept on the hotel couch still wearing his suit jacket, I stayed up. Not because of the IPO, because of what I already knew was coming. I checked my phone. 5 missed calls, area code 740, Millfield, Ohio. 3 from a number I did not recognize. 1 from my father, 1 from my mother. I did not call back. I set the phone face down on the nightstand and stared at the ceiling. 9 years, $44 million. And suddenly, Liza Carter was worth knowing again. My father's voicemail arrived the next morning while I brushed my teeth. His voice sounded thinner than I remembered. Older, but the same slow, careful cadence. A man who measured his words like lumber. Baby girl, I saw you on the news. You and Marcus on the stock exchange floor. I didn't know what to say, so I'm calling. I'm proud of you. I've always been... A long pause. Breathing. Your mother wants to talk. She has things she wants to discuss. Please call her back when you can. I love you, Iris. I played it 3 times. Baby girl. He had not called me that since I was 14 years old. I'm proud of you. 4 words I had waited a full decade to hear. But then I listened again, this time to its structure. He had called after the IPO, not after the wedding, not after the twins were born, not after any of the 7 returned birthday cards, or the ultrasound photos, or the birth announcements. After the IPO. He had always been proud of me on paper. What he had never been was brave enough to pick up the phone when there were no millions attached to the call. He is not one of us, Iris. He never will be. That had been my mother's voice, but it was my father who enforced the silence. He could have called on any day, in any year. He chose this one, the one with 44 million reasons attached to it. I saved that voicemail. I did not add it to the binder. It was too sad for the binder. Instead, I sat on the hotel bathroom floor and let myself feel all of it, fully, for about 4 minutes. Then I got up and packed my suitcase. We had a flight to catch. My mother's text arrived 2 days after we returned home. It was long, carefully composed, with no typos and no casual abbreviations. Clearly a draft, written, edited, probably read aloud to herself in a mirror beforehand. Iris, I know we have lost time. I think about you and the children every day. Life is short, and I have learned that some things matter more than the differences that divide us. I would like to talk about the future, about the children, about what it means to be a family. There are things that families should share. I believe we can find a way forward if you are willing. I read it twice and counted the words. 63, carefully chosen. Not one of them was sorry. Not one acknowledged that she had disowned me for marrying a man whose skin was a different shade than hers. Not one mentioned the returned cards, the ignored grandchildren, the 9 years of weaponized silence. She wrote, "The differences that divide us," as though our estrangement had simply been a philosophical disagreement, rather than a woman telling her own daughter, "He is not one of us," and then returning 7 years of sealed birthday cards. I did not reply. I screenshotted it, printed it, opened the binder. Item 29. First text from Diane in 9 years. 63 words. 0 apologies. Red pen. Dated. I closed the binder and looked at the framed photo beside my monitor. Marcus and me and the twins at the beach, all 4 of us squinting into the sun. That was my answer, sitting right there in the frame. Tess called that Friday. "Paige is telling everyone she visited you in Portland. She's saying you live in a mansion," her words, "that Marcus struck gold, that you drive a Tesla, that the kids go to private school." I leaned against the kitchen counter. "Half of that is wrong. It's not a mansion and the kids go to public school. Iris, that's not the point. Your mom is planning a trip. Paige told Linda at the salon that Diane's coming to Portland next week. She's already packing a suitcase." I closed my eyes. I know. How? Because Paige counted every room in that cafe conversation and photographed my car. Silence on the line. Then, "So what are you going to do?" "I'm going to open the door." "You're going to let her in?" "I'm going to let her talk, and then I'm going to show her what I've been keeping in the bottom drawer of my desk for 9 years. In a town like Millfield, news traveled through the Baptist church the way water moves through limestone, slowly, everywhere, impossible to fully stop. When I had married Marcus, the Whisper Network finished its work within 48 hours. Diane Archer's daughter married someone who was not like us. The women on the prayer chain clucked their tongues. The men at the diner shook their heads. My mother used that social pressure like a weapon, and she disowned me in part because she could not bear to be the subject of those whispers. Now, the whispers had reversed entirely. "You must be so proud," When did you last visit the grandkids? Are you heading to Portland for the holidays? And my mother had to smile through every single one of those questions, because admitting the truth, that she had cut off her own firstborn for loving someone she refused to accept, would destroy the carefully curated image she had spent a decade building. The same town that once let her cut me off without question was now asking her exactly why she had. And Diane Archer, the woman who once wielded social pressure like a scalpel, was finally the one being cut by it. She arrived on a Tuesday at 9 in the morning. I know the exact time because I was standing at my kitchen window drying a mug and watched the taxi pull up. She stepped out slowly. Beige cardigan, black slacks, the same pearl studs she had worn to church every Sunday since I was a little girl, a small carry-on worn at the corners. She stood on the sidewalk a full 30 seconds before walking up the path, taking in the craftsman details, the porch swing, the garden beds Marcus had planted that spring, the way a real estate appraiser evaluates a property. The doorbell rang. I opened the door. We stood 3 feet apart. She looked older, more gray in her hair, lines around her mouth that had not been there 9 years earlier. Her eyes, the exact same green as mine, were already wet. Iris. Mom. 4 seconds of silence. I came to talk about the children's future, she said. Not, I came because I missed you. Not, I came because I was wrong. Not even, I came because I love you. The children she had never met. The children whose photographs she had returned in sealed envelopes. The children my sister said did not have real grandparents. I looked at her suitcase, then at the folded paper in her right hand. Come in. I did not lead her to the living room. I led her to the kitchen. Good light, a table, a refrigerator covered in Cora's photo, and the twins' artwork, and a world map where Sophie marked every country she dreamed of visiting one day. The kitchen was where truth lived in our house, and truth was exactly what we were about to have. She sat. I poured 2 glasses of water. No coffee. Coffee is for people who are staying. Her eyes drifted to the fridge, landing on Cora's photo, holding Liam and Sophie on her lap at the beach, all 3 of them laughing. She stared at it for 5 long seconds. Something crossed her face. I could not tell if it was guilt or jealousy. Then she unfolded her paper. Blue ink, 5 bullet points, the product of what must have been hours of careful calculation. She read them aloud. Retirement fund for your father and me. $500,000. I said nothing. College fund for Paige's son, Thomas. $200,000. Nothing. Medical expenses, your father's knee surgery, $45,000. Nothing. Mortgage payoff on the family home, $180,000. Nothing. Monthly support, $3,000. She folded the paper, set it on the table, and looked at me. This is what families do, Iris. Your father worked his whole life. He sacrificed for both of you. It is time to give back. I stared at that list. $925,000. Itemized, calculated, presented like an invoice. Not once during the entire reading had she said my name alongside the word sorry. Not once had she acknowledged that she was sitting in a house she had never visited, asking for money from grandchildren she had never held. Her children don't have real grandparents. That's what she chose. Paige's words, echoing. I picked up the list, read each line one more time, folded it, and set it back down. Then I stood, walked to my office, and opened the bottom drawer exactly where I had left it. I carried the navy binder back into the kitchen and set it down right beside her folded list. 2 documents side by side. Hers, 1 page, 5 bullets, $925,000. Mine, 29 items, 9 years, 0 apologies received. She stared at it. What is that? You brought a list, Mom. I brought one too. I sat down, placed both hands flat on the table, and opened the binder to tab 1, year 1. I began reading. I did not raise my voice. I did not cry. I did not perform. I read the way I read quarterly reports to a board. Factual, organized, item by item. 9 years of receipts. Documented, dated. Every returned card. Every ignored voicemail. Every screenshot. Every single piece of proof that Diane Archer had systematically erased her firstborn daughter from the family. Not because I had done anything wrong, but because I had loved someone she refused to accept. This binder was not revenge. It was not a weapon. It was a record. And records do not negotiate. They do not argue. They do not forgive or condemn. They simply tell the truth. And I had 9 years of truth to share with her. I pulled the first item, a birthday card, white envelope, red stamp across the front, still sealed shut. Item 1, birthday card mailed September 12th, 2017, returned September 23rd. Her eyes widened. I pulled the second. Item 2, wedding photo mailed June 14th, returned June 25th. A third. Item 3, Christmas card, mailed December 8th, returned December 21st. I laid them out one after another, slowly, the way you lay out evidence in an audit. No commentary, no emotion, just documents in chronological order. Her mouth opened, then closed, as she stared at the growing row of white rectangles with their red stamps. Each one a door I had tried to open, and she had slammed shut every time. These are the birthday cards I sent you every year for 9 years. Every single one came back. Iris, I'm not finished. I moved to tab 2, year 2. A voicemail transcript stapled with a date and time. An unanswered call log. The Facebook post captioned my whole world, with no Iris, no Marcus, no grandchildren anywhere in frame. Item 4. Voicemail to you, January 7th, 2018. Duration, 47 seconds. No callback. She pressed her fingers to her lips. Item 5. Text from Dad, February 12th. 4 words. Your mother needs time. I set it down. It has been 9 years, Mom. How much more time did you need? The tears came. I had expected them. She covered her face with both hands and made the sound I had heard 1,000 times growing up. The controlled, theatrical cry she used whenever she wanted sympathy, without surrendering any dignity. The same cry she used when my father forgot their anniversary. The same cry from every potluck where the church did not choose her casserole. I was hurt, Iris. You chose him over us. You left. I did not leave. You told me not to come back. That's not... I was upset. People say things when they're upset. I flipped to tab 4, year 4, and pulled another printout. Item 16, text from Paige to a mutual friend, forwarded to me, March 9th, 2021. I read it aloud slowly. Her children don't have real grandparents. That's what she chose. She flinched. Paige didn't mean... This is her exact text, word for word. I flipped to the final tab. 7 pages of screenshots. Item 26, family group chat. Screenshots provided by a mutual friend who was accidentally added, October 4th. I read Paige's message aloud. Make a list. Be specific about what we need. She's a numbers person. She'll respond to numbers. Then my mother's own words. She has more money than this entire town. She can afford to help her family. Her face changed completely. The theatrical tears dried up instantly, and something harder surfaced underneath, something I recognized immediately. The same expression she wore the day Paige broke the good china and blamed it on the dog. Anger, not guilt. You had no right to read that. I looked at her, level and steady. You had no right to return my children's photos. The kitchen went silent. I reached for one final item, tab 5, year 7. The envelope looked slightly different from the others, the flap creased, the glue cut and resealed with a thin strip of clear tape. I held it up. Item 23, birthday card, year 7. Inside this card was a photo of Liam and Sophie at their school's fall festival. On the back I wrote, "They ask about you sometimes. I tell them you live far away." This card was opened. Someone looked at their faces. then sealed it back up and sent it back to me. Her jaw tightened. Who opened it, Mom? Nothing. Dad opened it. He wanted to keep it, and you made him send it back. Her hands went flat on the table. Her eyes stayed locked on that envelope, on the tape. And then she whispered something so quietly, I almost missed it entirely. I was afraid if I let him keep it, if I let any of it in, I would have had to admit I was wrong, that I lost 9 years for nothing, that I pushed away my own grandchildren because I was too proud to... She stopped, swallowed. For 1 second, maybe 2, I saw something real in her face, not performance, not manipulation, actual fear, the kind that lives buried under anger for so long it forgets how to surface any other way. And then it was gone. Her chin lifted, her posture stiffened. But you left us, Iris. You made your choice. The moment of honesty evaporated like steam off a coffee cup, gone before I could even hold on to it. I placed her list of demands on the left side of the table, the binder on the right. Your list, $925,000, 5 bullet points, no apology. I tapped the binder. My list, 29 items, 9 years of silence, 9 years of returned birthday cards and ignored grandchildren, and a daughter you erased because she married the wrong man. Her nostrils flared. I did not erase. You told the church I abandoned you. You told Paige to tell people my children didn't have real grandparents. You tracked my husband's company for months and then showed up at my door with an itemized invoice. I closed the binder. The metal rings clicked shut. You did not come here because you missed me, Mom. You came here because the numbers changed. She stood. The chair scraped against the tile. After everything we did for you growing up, the food, the clothes, the school supplies, this is how you repay us? You raised me. That's not a debt. That's what parents do. We gave you everything. You gave me a card that said, "Come home soon." Then you told me never to come back. She had no answer for that. I could see her scanning through every guilt trip and piece of emotional leverage she had ever used, finding absolutely nothing that fit. You said he wasn't one of us, but for 9 years, his mother was the only grandmother my children had. The words hung in that kitchen like smoke. I watched her hear them land. She had nothing left to say. That's when the garage door rumbled. Marcus walked in through the laundry room, keys in one hand, laptop bag over his shoulder. He saw my mother. He saw the binder on the table. He saw me. He did not speak a single word. He set his bag down on the counter, walked over, placed his hand on my shoulder, and sat down beside me. That was it. No confrontation, no dramatic entrance, just a man sitting beside his wife because she needed him there. My mother looked at Marcus, the man she had refused to accept 9 years earlier. Flannel shirt, running shoes, a watch that cost less than her pearl studs. Nothing flashy, nothing that announced $44 million. Just a man, a good man, a father, a husband. Right there, hand on my shoulder, saying everything without opening his mouth. She stared at his hand, at my shoulder, at the space between us that held no tension, no performance, no need for words at all. And I think she finally understood. I did not need the Archer family. I had already built my own. I spoke quietly, the way you deliver a final number on a balance sheet. Factual, complete, no revision pending. Mom, I will not give you money. She opened her mouth. I continued. Not because I can't afford it, because the moment I hand you a check, you will believe you were right to stay away until it became profitable to come back. You will tell yourself, and you will tell Paige, that this is simply what family does, that the silence was a misunderstanding, that 9 years were just a rough patch. I picked her list back up and held it out toward her. They were not a rough patch. They were a choice. Your choice. Every returned card, every ignored voicemail, every photo of your grandchildren that you looked at and sent back. She did not take the list. It simply hung in the air between us. If you want to know your grandchildren, really know them, not as a line item on a financial plan. That starts with an apology, not to me, to them. And it does not start today. It starts when you are finally ready to mean it. She took the list. She picked up her suitcase. She walked to the front door, stopped, turned around, opened her mouth, closed it again, and walked out. The door clicked shut behind her. Not a slam, a click. The sound of someone leaving who knew, somewhere underneath everything, that she had lost something money could never buy back. 2 weeks passed. Marcus and I did not talk about her much, not because we were avoiding it, but because there was not much left to say. She had come with a list. I had shown her a binder. She had left without apologizing. The math was settled. The twins never knew she had visited. They were both at school during her arrival and her departure, and honestly, I preferred it that way. They would learn about Diane Archer when they were old enough to understand that some people only see you clearly when the light hits you the right way. My father called on a Tuesday morning, not a weekend. "Iris, your mother told me what happened." I waited. "I should have opened that door for you 9 years ago. I should have picked up the phone. I should have driven to Portland the day the twins were born. I should have done a lot of things." His voice cracked. "I'm sorry. Not because of the money. I don't want your money. I want to know my grandchildren, and I want to know if you'll let me try." I was quiet for 17 seconds. I counted. "I believe you, Dad, but believing you and trusting you are different things. We start slow. Phone calls every 2 weeks. No visits yet. No money. Just talking." He agreed instantly. "That's more than I deserve." "It's exactly what you deserve. Not more, not less." My sister texted once, a single line. "You could have just helped." I did not reply.